From 1861 to 1865, nearly 400,000 Union soldiers fought and fell to prove whether the principles of the Declaration would remain mere words on a parchment or become the moral foundation of this republic. The Declaration proclaims a simple but yet revolutionary truth: that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But for nearly a century, America struggled to live up to that promise. Mr. Werman, let me begin with one of the darkest chapters in our constitutional history. You're, of course, familiar with the Supreme Court decision in Dred Scott versus Sanford.
Yes, sir.
That decision held that African Americans, whether slave or free, could not be citizens of the United States. Is that correct?
That is correct.
By denying citizenship, the court also denied African Americans equal political rights, equal access to the courts, and equal protection of the laws.
Correct. They were denied all privileges and immunities that the Constitution affords to citizens.
Would you agree that the Dred Scott decision pushed the nation even closer to civil war?
It did, by invalidating the Missouri Compromise, among other reasons.
It is hard to imagine a decision more corrosive to the principles of the Declaration. Many historians posit the decision in Dred Scott helped cause the Civil War. And when that bloody war, the bloodiest war in America's history, ended in 1865, the legal status of the newly freed slaves was far from settled. Mr. Werman, after the Civil War, was it clear as a matter of law that the freed slaves would necessarily enjoy the full rights of citizenship?
It was not if Dred Scott was still good law.
Congress understood the danger of that uncertainty, and if the Constitution remained silent, the rights of the newly emancipated slaves could be challenged, undermined, or even potentially stripped away by future courts. That would mean that the blood shed in the Civil War was shed in vain. So Congress acted. In 1866, it passed the Civil Rights Act, declaring that the newly emancipated slaves were citizens of the United States. Mr. Werman, even after Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1866, were there serious doubts about whether Congress had the constitutional authority to enact it?
Yes, there were.
And so Congress chose a more permanent solution. The solution was to write citizenship itself into the Constitution so that never again could a court repeat the mistake and the gross injustice of Dred Scott. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. That sentence settled the question of citizenship after the bloodiest war in American history. Mr. Cooper, would you agree that the Citizenship Clause sets forth two requirements for citizenship? First, that a person must be born or naturalized in the United States, and second, that the person must be, quote, subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
That's clear from the face of the amendment.
And is it fair to say that the current debate over the birthright citizenship centers on the meaning of the second phrase?
That's right, subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
When the amendment was adopted in 1868, was the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof understood to require allegiance in a reciprocal sense?
It certainly was understood to require that by those who authored the phrase and those who supported it in the United States Congress.
So it was understood that way by legislators, by judges, by scholars, by executive branch officials, by those who proposed the amendment, and by those who ratified it.
And subsequently by the Supreme Court in the Elk case.
Mr. Cooper, was this also the understanding of the authors of the 14th Amendment, men like Lyman Trumbull, Jacob Howard, and John Bingham?
Yes.
And as you noted again, there was the same understanding reflected across the board in the early decision of the courts, such as the Slaughterhouse cases, Elk versus Wilkins, and King Ark. In also the leading commentators of the period, like Alexander Morse, Francis Wharton, and George Collins, and the view of executive officials responsible for enforcing the law, including the Attorney General of the United States in 1873 and the Solicitor of the Treasury in 1889.
The consistency was remarkable, yes.
So would it be accurate to say that the view espoused by my Democrat colleagues that the 14th Amendment confers citizenship on anyone born on this land, whether here lawfully or unlawfully, temporarily or permanently, regardless of whether they owe allegiance to the United States, is a relatively recent view and directly contrary to the almost universal view at the time the amendment was ratified.
It's not at all clear to me when that view took root. The United States, in its brief to the Supreme Court, suggests during the administration of FDR, but it is certainly inconsistent with most everything that preceded it, everything except, I would say, the dicta in 1 Kim Ark, the incorrect dicta.
Thank you, and I do have to note to the committee that Mr. Cooper was my very first boss in private practice, and I came to work for him as a baby lawyer, and he quite literally taught me how to practice law. So let me apologize to the committee for all of my sins. Please do not hold Mr. Cooper responsible for my many errors in the decades since.
I thought you were trying to get a grade upgrade from the exam you took and only got a B+ just now.
Thank you.